Hey guys, and today I'm gonna tell you everything that you need to know about the bass drum. Let's go. Alright guys, so the bass drum, nice. So the bass drum, the first thing of course that you need to know about is its sound. So that's how the bass drum sounds. So the bass drum is a drum that is used in the, in a drum kit. And it is played with your foot. In most cases, usually it's played with your right foot. But if you're left-handed and you're more comfortable to play with your left foot, then you can put your bass drum on the left side and you can play it with your left foot. So, you play it with your right foot, if you're right-handed, if you're right-footed. So, it sounds like this. And, if you're a musician, you're probably going to be able to tell what the bass drum is for, just judging by its name. So, you probably got it. It's called the bass drum. So, what it's supposed to play is literally the same thing that the bass guitar plays. Or, if it's jazz, the double bass. It literally copies what the bass guitar or the double bass is playing. So, I have a good example of that. For example, the movie Whiplash, the song Caravan from the movie Whiplash. It's a pretty good movie. I suggest you watch it. It's about a drummer who went to a school, and I don't want to spoil it for you, but it's a pretty interesting movie. It's about a drummer who actually. Okay, so, in that movie there's a good song. There's 3 songs: Whiplash, Caravan, and Overture. So, in the song Caravan, it's a pretty good example of what the bass drum is playing and what the bass guitar or the double bass is playing. So, the double bass in that song plays don 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 don. And if you can guess, the bass drum plays the same thing. So, when you put it all together, the whole entire beat, with the bass drum playing the bass, what the bass is playing, it's a very complex beat, and you can't really understand that the bass drum is playing whatever the double bass is playing. But it is true. The double bass is playing dum 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 dum, and the bass is playing dum dum dum. So it plays the same thing. In that case, it plays the exact same thing. However, on a bass guitar, usually there's a lot faster grooves and there's a lot of more ghost notes in between the actual accented notes. It's like drums. Instead of playing this, you add some ghost notes in there. And the bass guitar does the same thing. They have ghost notes, which makes it a lot harder to copy with the bass drum. Because the bass drum, of course, you can't go that fast on it. You gotta have very good technique on your feet in order to go fast on it. And I'll make another video on your feet technique later. So, if the bass is playing something too complex, what you want to do is get the root notes and play the root notes. So, for example, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Dark Necessities, Flea, the bassist, that's actually one of my favorite bassists. He plays dum dan gang gang dum dum dan gang gang So you're not gonna play the can with your bass drum. You're gonna play the low and the most needed notes. You're not gonna play all the ghost notes. So if you play dum dang gang gang dum dum, you're not gonna play the can. You're only gonna play the dum. So dang gang gang dum dum dang gang gang dang gang gang dum gang 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 dum. You can play the can with the bass drum. I know it sounds weird how I'm saying it, but you can play that with not the bass drum. Sorry, the snare drum, because you know the low notes, bass drum, because bass drum makes low notes, and the high notes, the can, is the snare drum, because the snare drum makes high notes. So if you combine it all together, you know what the actual drummer is playing in that song is basically. But how I like to do it is do what the bass drum is, play what the bass guitar is playing. So the low notes on the bass drum, the high notes on the snare drum. So it makes sense. The hi-hat just plays the beat all the time. So ga ga ga. All right. So bass drum. Also, what I want to tell you, this is a very important part. So, the bass drum is the hardest drum to tune. The hardest drum to make it good sounding, because it's the biggest. The bigger the drum, the harder it is to tune it. For example, this tom, the smallest tom, you don't even need to tune it. You just tighten it up. I mean, you have to tune it, but it's very, very, very easy to tune it because it's small. You just put some moon gel on it. That's it. It sounds good. This tom, it's a little tiny bit harder. The snare drum, hard. It's pretty hard to get a good sound out of it. And again, it's not because of the size. It's because of the snare wire. The snare drum is a very unique drum. It doesn't sound like this, or it doesn't sound like the bass drum. It has a unique sound because it has the snare wire under the bottom. I'm gonna make another video on the snare. So the snare is a little bit hard. The tom is pretty hard, but the bass drum is the hardest. So the bass drum, I suggest you doing some stuff, and I have a very cool and funny story to tell you. So my first drum teacher, his name is Michael Morales. He's a very good teacher. You should check him out on Instagram and all that stuff. And he, when I got lessons with him, my first drum set was electric. So he gave me homework. I went to a studio with him. I got the lessons. Then I went home. I needed to do homework. So I had an electric drum kit, and you don't need to tune electric drum kits. So I didn't care about tuning anything. So then I bought a real drum kit, an acoustic drum kit, and I had to tune my drums. I didn't know how. So me and my mom texted my teacher, and he came to our house, and he helped me tune the drums, and he tuned my drums, and he taught me how to tune. So it was very weird when he said this, but it's actually true. He asked my mom to get a big blanket, and then he put it inside the bass drum. He opened it up, he took off the head, he put it inside the bass drum, put the head back. It was very weird at first because I didn't know what it does. But then when he started playing it, it sounded very good. Because the blanket, what it does is it mutes the bass drum. The bass drum is a very big drum, which means it is going to have a lot of ring in it. And you don't want ring in the bass drum. That's the tricky part. It's a big drum, so it has to have ring in it. But because it's the bass drum, you don't want ring in it. You're supposed to muffle it so that there's no ring, which is the tricky part. Big drum, big ring, and you don't want ring. So you have to muffle it a lot. So my teacher put the blanket inside it. It was muffled. He put back the head. You know, he tuned it however he wanted it to. Also, what I want to tell you is that never crank up your bass drum and never tune it too high. It's a bass drum, bass. It's low notes. It's supposed to be tuned low. It's supposed to be a low sound, a low pitch sound. So when you put a blanket inside, you know, it sounds a lot better, a lot better. It's not supposed to be a blanket. It can be clothes, it can be a pillow, and it can be a different amount. It depends on the size of your bass drum, and it depends on what kind of sound you want. So for me, right now, I just have a pillow on the bottom. It's just laying on the bottom like this. And also I have a muffler around my head. So it's like, it's a type of head that has a muffler around it. I'm gonna show you that right now. Alright, so I know it's pretty dark, but you see this right here? That's the muffler. You can take it off like this. And notice this sound. It's so bad when you take it off. It's not muffled. It's muffled. It's pretty good. But it has too much ring for a bass drum. However, when you put this on, it gets out the ring and it becomes a dry bass drum sound, which I like. Alright, so I put on the muffler, as you can see this, and now it sounds like this. As you can hear, it's a lot better. It's a lot more dry sounding, and it's a lot, you know, there's not that much ring anymore. So, also what the bass drum needs to have is this little sticker right here that you put on your head. They're pretty cheap. I just broke my pedal. Oh, never mind. Okay, so what the? Wait, I'm confused. Why? Okay. Okay, now it's fine. All right, so that was so weird, but okay. You buy these. They're pretty cheap, and basically what they do is protect your head from ripping. When I first started drumming, I didn't have that. I didn't have the sticker, and I played around a month, and then after that month, the head just ripped. It had a little big hole in the middle. So why do I keep breaking my pedal? Okay, now it's fine. I'm not gonna touch it again. So, when I broke the head and all that stuff, I bought a new head and I put the sticker on, and I'm like, ooh, now it will never rip, and it never ripped until, you know, it never ripped. I just changed my head when I wanted to, and yeah. So it never ripped. So I suggest you getting these. I don't suggest you. I actually tell you that you have to get these in order if you want to have your head safe, and also if you want more muffling. This gives you more muffling too. As you can see, I have the pillow on the ground right here, laying down. So yeah. The bass drum is the drum that needs to be most muffled out of all the drums. As you can see here, I just have one piece of moon gel. Here I have one piece of moon gel. This is a big drum, the floor tom, so I have a lot of moon gel here because it's a big drum like the bass drum. Here I don't even have moon gel because it doesn't require moon gel. It's a small drum. The bass drum is the drum that needs to be most muted out of all drums. So also what I want to suggest you is getting a pedal with this soft kind of thing. You know, you don't need a pedal. You don't want a pedal that's hard because it might rip your bass drum head faster, and also it will sound a lot more sharp. We want a soft sounding bass drum, so get the soft ones. So, this is it for the bass drum. Now you know how to play it. I mean, never mind, you don't really know how to play it if you just started playing drums. And talking about beginners, I'm going to be doing online individual drum lessons. So DM me on Instagram if you want to know more about that. And follow me on Instagram. Subscribe to my channel for more content and all that stuff that I'm going to tell you later. So, you learn how to, when, you know, what? Okay, so, now I can speak normally. You know how to use it, you know when it's supposed to be used, and you know how it's supposed to be used. So, at what times and what it's supposed to play. So, now you know how to make a good sound of it, how to muffle it. I'm gonna make another video later, how to tune your bass drum. I'm also gonna be making a video about the snare drum, everything about snare. Then another video about how to tune the snare drum. So now you know that the bass drum usually plays what the bass guitar is playing or the double bass is playing. So, you know, that's in most cases. But in music, there's not particular rules. You know, there's a little bit of rules that you have to follow. And, you know, when you follow them, you can do whatever you want. So, you don't follow those rules, music is going to be bad. But if you follow those rules, you can do whatever you want and the music will still be good. So, there's a rule, you know, it's not really a rule, but in most cases, the bass drum has to play whatever the bass guitar is playing. However, in music, there's different types of situations. So, in some situations, you're going to have to play something else on the bass drum. So, subscribe to my channel for more content. Slap the bell to never miss a video. Like my videos and also comment down below some video suggestions. Comment down below some video suggestions that you want me to make. And all of that. So yeah, subscribe. 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 Now. Slap like now. Davey 504.